So, you want to be a toss Orcust player? Who would blame you? Orcust is the best engine of the format. Once it has every piece of it online, it's nearly impossible to stop it effectively without blowouts. Even if the board is lackluster, all of the follow-up it generates gives the deck one of the best card economies of the entire format. So, what do the Orcust cards do? Orcust is focused on manipulating monsters between the graveyard and the banishment zone to summon multiple bodies with their own effects. The best example of this is Orcust Harporer, which banished itself from the graveyard to special summon an Orcust monster from the deck. There are two other monsters from the archetype that do a similar gimmick, with Symbol Skeleton summoning from the graveyard and Brass Bombard summoning from the hand. The former is extremely important, but the other one not so much. There are two more important main deck monsters in this deck, Orcust Nightmare and World Legacy Whirlwind. Nightmare is the deck's foolish burial by banishing itself from the graveyard, and despite its bricky nature, it's an essential piece to the engine. Remember that you cannot use its effect if there are no monsters on the field. It can also send any dark machines from the deck, which allows it to send cool utility pieces like Gizmic Orochi, or if you are really cool, you can go for Desperado Barrel Dragon for the sweet gambling addiction. Play 3 of it, no questions. Whirlwind banishes itself to summon an Orcust from the banishment zone. It's the brickiest card in the archetype, but is a necessary one or two of that you can easily recycle. With what you ask? Why am I glad I asked? With Galatea, of course. Galatea is one of the most important cards in the extra deck. Without it, your deck cannot function. It returns a banished machine to the deck to set an Orcust back row from the deck. This is not a cost, this is an upside and a huge one. I will cover the relevant back rows and skip over the lackluster ones later in the video. The next important card to cover is Dingirsu. You see those stars there? They're relevant for this deck, as you can just slap it on top of a Galatea for free. On summon, it gets the option to either attach a banished monster to it or send. The send does not target, which is one of the reasons the deck is so good. The attach effect turns it into a great piece, as you will see later in the video. And you thought the card was being good? Well, it can also protect your cards by detaching a material if anything would be destroyed. This makes it an all-around insane card, which you need 2 of. The last relevant piece of the extra deck is Longirsu, which is another neat piece of removal, but it is a situational card nonetheless, you should still run it. For the back row, we are in for doozy. There are 3 relevant cards to cover, the others are either win more, slow, or just terrible. The first one is Babel, which makes every Orcust effect a quick effect, which is the reason why the deck is so powerful in toss. Every card becomes essentially 2 copies of that same card, giving the deck an insane amount of card advantage quickly, and gives the deck a better card economy than nearly every other deck of the format. It can also recover itself from the graveyard by the laughable cost of sending a card from the hand to the graveyard, which in a deck like this is most likely an upside. Round 1, you won't need any more than that. The next card is Return, which is essentially a pot of greed, allowing you to send your bricky Orcust cards for 2 new cards. Simple effect, extremely strong. Do I even need to say how many you need to run? The last relevant back row is Crescendo, which is an Omni-Negate which banishes, if you control an Orcust Link monster that is. It will also be able to banish itself from the grave on a subsequent turn to Rhoda any dark machine. It is by far the card which is the least likely to be part of your end board, and some people elect not to run it, but most people still play it as a one-off due to the card's sheer power. Now, how does one build Orcust? The name of the game is to run a lot of cards with Foolish Burial effects, due to the nature of most of the cards needing to be in the graveyard to do anything. The best ones are, of course, Foolish Burial, Get On, and Dark Grepher. But all of these are limited, which forces you to also run options like Mathematician and Scrap Recycler. Both have their own upsides, but in pure Orcust, Recycler is better due to being able to send any machines. Allure of Darkness is an obvious inclusion. The other cards can be the strong staples of the format like Ash, Phantasme, and Imperm. We can also go in ways to stop hand traps due to it being one of the weaknesses of the deck, like 3 Call Buys and 3 Instant Fusion into Millenniumize and even Winda, since one of the major interactions of the deck is to be able to protect it from destruction with Dingirsu. Now, how does one play Orcust? All your plays are going to be funneled through a simple resource loop involving your main deck monsters. There will be a small free spreadsheet in the description to help you learn that deck, but luckily, it's a pretty easy deck to play. But more importantly, how do you beat Orcust? It's simple really, just get them off the resource loop. If they don't have an extender, they will pass 100% of the time, but if they do, you just hand loop yourself. You can use an Ash to negate Harp's effect. Depending on the extender, most of the iron boards after that will be a Galatea with Crescendo, which is pretty easy to beat. If they drew Babel though, they will just hand on their usual board. For Imperm, it is often better to Imperm Galatea than it is to hit any of the Foolish Burial effects, as it cuts them of their best engine pieces. DD Crow is a dicey card, since it does not stop them effectively even if you remove their card. It is quite easy for them to just get another copy of whichever card you hit in the graveyard. You can wait on your own turn to do it on Dingirsu when they attempt to summon it with Symbol Skeleton, which forces them to use this disruption in an awkward way. Lancea is a no-brainer and completely shuts off the deck. So does System Down, which will be your silver bullets against the deck post side. Cosmic Cyclone on the field spell is quite huge as it forces them to use their effects immediately and severely weakens their board. They will also not be able to get it back as opposed to other forms of back row removal. Here is my list. It is a pretty standard list for the time and it will also be included in the description. Enjoy! Thank you for watching as always, and please leave a like and subscribe as it helps the channel and in consequence the format to grow. The next video will be a guide on Salamangreat, so stay tuned! Bye!